Hello everybody and welcome to a playthrough of Planet Zoo. We will be doing the main mode where it takes us through the tutorial. This is just a brief glance of what the actual zoo, Planet Zoo looks like. I really hope that you enjoy this gameplay. We are going to try and get the gold status because it's bronze, silver and gold. And we're going to see what this game has to offer. Now, I am new to this game, so I don't really know how to play it. I've played zoo management games before, but this will be my first. This is a close-up of a couple of animals for you to enjoy and have a look at. Right, now this is the main menu of the Amazing Planet Zoo. We have a career mode, we have a sandbox mode, and we have challenges as well as timed mode as well. Now I am going to be doing a playthrough of the career mode where I'm going to be working my way through all the way to gold. This is just a brief information about the new scenario time mode. So it's basically you got to do everything under time pressure. And basically, in the mode I'm on, I can take my time and I can be taught exactly how to play. It is Goodwin House, our starting point. Remember, I'm after the 3 stars gold. I've picked the easy mode because I want a challenge. I want to learn how to play, but I don't want it to be too difficult because obviously, because I'm brand new to the game, I want to still be able to enjoy it at the same time. So I will at least start off with easy mode and see where I go from there. Obviously the guests will always be happy and the animals will mostly always be happy in this mode. So after a little brief introduction, we will start and load into the game. Right, here we are with the introduction. Basically, I am now in my first um, career mode, which is basically the one that's going to give me a tutorial. And basically, this is looking brilliant. As you can see, the astonishing graphics, the reflections off the water, the bouncing light, and also the performance is not too bad either. This looks like one of those benchmark score tests that you run on a computer. But obviously, this is going to have every single zoo animal you could ever think of. Anything from a lion and a tiger all the way to a tortoise, basically. Now, like I said, we want to keep the guests happy. We want to make sure that, well, I definitely want to learn this game because it's a game I definitely want to start playing a lot more of. But the most important thing to remember in Planet Zoo is to keep the animals happy, safe, and relaxed at all times because the animals will be your main focus. The guests will be easy to look after, but the animals will be somewhat challenging because there'll be all these status bars decreasing and you've got to do things to increase them. You've got to make sure they're fed well. You've got to make sure that they're in the right environment, the terrain, everything like that. The guests can have little education screens to educate them about the animals, but it's going to be quite a journey when we get started. Now, I have muted parts of the game where there's talking because the audio has gone a little bit strange. It's like cracking up audio. So if you do want to hear the audio of the game, of the tutorial, you will need to get Planet Zoo to find out what's being said, obviously. But for the sake of this video, I have muted it and I'm placing it with my own voice. So let's get started with this tutorial and I will see how I get on.
But before we begin the real work, how about we familiarise you with the zoo by learning how to fly around it and visiting some of our beautiful animals. We'll start by popping over and having a look-see at the grizzly bears in their habitat.
Yes, I don't know what the audio is going to sound like basically going forward, but I will also talk as well. Now, basically, the grizzly bears look very good close up. Nice strong animals they are. Now basically they can go in the water, swim, paddle, and they are land creatures usually, but they also love the body of water. So basically we have got to now help the grizzly bears.
Did you know that grizzly bears, also known as Ursus arctos horribilis, can hibernate for up to 7 months a year? But then again, given the chance, I think a lot of people would do that too.
This is a very good angle to look at when the animals are swimming.
Select one of the bears and you'll bring up its information panel. See now, this is a fantastic way to get a close look at your animals. You can also get this view of an animal by simply double-clicking on it. Okay, when you're ready, let's pop over to the other side of the zoo and take a look at the lions. I've marked their location for you to find.
Ah, the lion. He's asleep. Ah, how cute. And he's in his little shelter home as well, on his bedding. That little lion, tiger, animal. Ah, he's just standing, taking in the environment, yawning. Ah, isn't it just amazing? The zoo on Planet Zoo.
As you can see, it's a lovely space for animals, but it's missing a certain something. Well, two somethings. Warthogs. So I'd like you to adopt a pair of them. To adopt animals, we need to open the animal market, which is in the animal trading section.
So now we need to adopt the animals. Now, basically, in the animal market, we'll just click on them, click adopt, click send to zoo, and then click anywhere on the ground in the enclosure I mean.
There we are, a pair of perfectly splendid warthogs for our zoo. Just click on them and select Adopt from the side menu. Normally the animal exchange would be full of animals, but I've emptied out the market while you learn how it works. The last thing I need is you accidentally ordering a dozen elephants. Luckily, if you select an animal, you'll bring up their animal welfare information panel, which we saw earlier, where you can see how they're doing. That way, you'll know exactly what areas need to be addressed. Don't worry if that's a lot to remember. You can always check the Zoopedia for more information.
So we need to go to habitat, and we need to get some food and water bowls and place them in the
Let's
enclosure.
start by making sure we're taking care of the warthog's nutrition welfare. To do this, we'll need to place a food station and a drinking station. Now, each animal requires a different type of feeding station. And for the warthogs, it's a small feeding trough. So let's add one of those and a water bowl.
Okay, we need a mud bath as well, so that these animals can definitely play in the mud.
Oh, before we actually start building our ostrich habitat, let's pause the game. Just click the pause button in the bottom right corner.
Right, it's the first time in the tutorial I'm going to be building an enclosement.
That's more like it. A quick break. Sometimes it's a good idea to pause the game whilst you're doing something which requires your concentration, because it'll stop the zoo spinning out of control while you're looking the other way. Let's keep the game paused while we get this ostrich habitat built. Right, let's complete the perimeter barrier so we can adopt us some ostriches. I've marked out an area for you to use, so I'd like you to finish off the perimeter using the brick barrier.
Ah, now the guests can see the animals through the glass. Wow, this is good, because on previous Zoo Tycoon related games, you had to stand on a platform.
There we go. Adding in more windows gives guests even more opportunities to see the animals in a habitat. It's always best to make sure the guests can get a good view into a habitat from the path they're walking on, because it makes them happy, and because this would be a pretty terrible zoo if they couldn't. The last thing we need to do is to add a donation box. You see, when guests enjoy the view of an animal, they'll make a donation. Just make sure you put them in easy-to-reach places, like near a viewing point. Donation boxes are one of the main sources of income for the zoo, so make sure you remember them. Now, before we adopt our ostriches, you should click the play button. After all, if the game's paused, then so are our caretakers, which will make it a bit tricky for them to deliver the ostriches, eh? By the way, as well as pausing the game, you can speed the game up by clicking on the fast forward button. It'll run everything at 2 times and 5 times faster. It can be useful, especially if you're waiting for money to accumulate or for animals to be delivered to your habitat. Personally, I use it when I'm waiting for a brew to finish. While we wait for them to be collected by the caretakers and brought to the habitat, you should get it ready.
Just think when an animal first arrives in the zoo, brand new environment, even if it's what they're used to seeing in the wild or the nature, but they've got the zookeepers looking after them, they've got people watching them, and they obviously have a brilliant home, but they are restricted to the area that they are within. But as long as they're happy, little lovely animals, or medium or big animals, I guess it's all good all round. Right now for the food and the water, and I think there's something called a slow feeder as well. That the animals have sometimes. So we are just going to sort that out right now, and before moving on to the next stage of the tutorial.
Oh, good to see the ostriches have somewhere they can really stretch their legs. Did you know they can actually run at 43 miles per hour? Oh, heaven forbid they ever escape. The speed camera fines alone would bankrupt us.
Well, I have completed bronze and reached silver. Now I cannot wait to see what the challenges are like in silver.
Well, Bernie certainly seems impressed. Did you do his speed camera joke? Every time we get an ostrich. So, now we've made the ostriches' lives a bit better, let's do the same for the keepers, shall we? To make it easier for the keepers to feed the ostriches and hippos, we should build a new keeper hut. Keeper huts are where the keepers prepare the food for animals, so they should be placed near to the habitats to make sure the keepers don't waste their time walking when they should be looking after the animals. This keeper hut only has space for one keeper, but the larger keeper hut can allow multiple keepers to prepare food at the same time. Oh, but bear in mind that keeper huts and other staff facilities shouldn't be placed near to areas where there are lots of guests. Guests don't like seeing facility buildings, and it can affect their happiness. Negatively, in case that wasn't clear. Something that all facilities, shops, and a whole host of other objects need is power. And that obviously includes your newly built keeper hut. So let's place a transformer next to it, shall we? Now, the reason everything has gone blue is because you're using the power heat map. This map allows you to see what is and what isn't powered in your zoo. So, once you've placed your transformer, you can click in the bottom left to turn the heat map off. Righty, your next job is to build a habitat. From scratch. And concrete and glass, I expect. So, go ahead and build it. Just make sure that the habitat includes that big hole we've dug. Oh, and don't forget to add a habitat gate to the barrier. Oh, and make sure the guests will be able to see the tigers. Now, Bernie takes safety very seriously at his zoos, so we should probably make sure those tigers can't jump out of their habitat, don't you think? The way we'll do it is by changing the height of the habitat's barrier. Okay then, you should start by double-clicking the habitat barrier, which will take you into barrier editing mode. Now you've got all of the perimeter selected, you can increase the height of it by clicking and dragging the barrier height tool upwards. You'll want to make sure it reaches a height of at least 3.7 meters. Now that the habitat is in place, don't forget to put down a donation box near to your viewing areas. We need every dollar we can get. Especially as these tigers aren't exactly eating instant noodles for lunch. Okay, that's the habitat boundary complete, the habitat gate in place, and most importantly, the tigers won't be able to jump out of it anymore. I think it's time we adopted those tigers. Whilst our trusty caretakers collect and deliver the tigers, let's take a look at preparing the habitat for their arrival. We'll start with the basics. Add a suitable feeding station for them. This time, instead of adding a water bowl, let's try something different. Some animals need a pool in their habitat so they can go for a swim, but they can also use it to drink from. All you have to do is make sure the banks of the pool have a gentle slope so they can easily get a nice, refreshing drink. There's already a pool excavated, but you still need to fill it with water. You should do that by going into Terrain and selecting the water tool. Okay, it's really starting to take shape. Now, the tigers will need a shelter in their habitat so they can hide from the guests, or more likely the bad weather. Although given that we're in England, you might want to think of that just as normal weather. Go on, add a shelter to their habitat. You can either build one from various suitable bits and bobs, or if you like, just pop down the blueprint that I've already built for you. Oh, poor Dabs. I'm sure it can't have escaped your attention that the tigers look a bit miffed. That's because they aren't too keen on the type of terrain in their habitat. Select a tiger and bring up its information panel. Rightio, click on the Terrain tab. That way you can view the terrain information and see how they feel about the different types of terrain. That'll tell you what the tigers need more of or less of in this habitat. Okay then, open the Terrain Editing tool, select Painting, and give them some more soil. Yes, that should help with the habitat part of their welfare.
What I found out for this part, everybody, is that basically in order to improve the terrain and the area for the animals, right, which it says increase terrain welfare to 100%, you've got to paint the terrain with rock, apparently, and some kind of like soil as well. You got to paint it with that, and then basically the animals will be happy, and the terrain welfare will be increased to 100%. Right, I had to mute it again here because the lady was talking to me, telling me about the plants that the animals don't want and the ones that they do want. But then her voice was that cracked up like a faulty radiator, radio that was about to malfunction, that I could even barely listen to her myself. This could just be something wrong with the recording at the time. I don't know because I recorded this from my laptop. So anyway, to cut a long piece of string short, I'm just going to sort out the plants for the animals, whatever I need to do to get the welfare up of the shelter, I see. And then we'll take it from there. Well, it looks like I have completed silver, and now I'm about to proceed to the gold. Now, once again, I've had to mute it because it sounds weird for some reason. I don't know whether it's just the editing software, I don't know. But it may sound better when the video is complete, I don't know either. But I am now on the most final milestone status for this part in any career scenario, which it will be now the gold one. Eye of the Tiger. I've unlocked that scenario. Oh my goodness. Just gets better and better and better, doesn't it? But yeah, and we've also unlocked some items which are animals of the following. That is got to be brilliant. Let's continue. Now this looks like a nice place of the zoo. It's like a maze to humans, to animals. It's like a 5-star house or something. But with a water fountain, it adds its beauty.
Good work on those peafowls. I expect they'll be delivered soon. But sadly, it sounds like our snow leopard is a bit grumpy. Let's head over there and see what's wrong with her. Just like people, animals can suffer from stress if things aren't quite right. You know, like when you see someone put in the milk before the tea bag. In the case of these snow leopards, they're a bit stressed by their lack of privacy. You can lower their stress levels by swapping out the normal glass barrier by their cave for one-way glass. It's not a cheap option, but I think they're worth the expense, don't you? This will give the snow leopards somewhere to go when they want to get away from the prying eyes of the guests.
Right, basically I am completing the fence, but I'm adding some privacy glass for the animal, so that basically it's blocked away from the actual guests, so that it doesn't get scared and stressed out.
Of course, when an animal isn't in its natural biome, it's probably going to be too hot or too cold. Unsurprisingly for the snow leopards, it's too hot. Even with the terrible British weather. You should help cool it down by adding some coolers to their habitat. But let's start by opening up the temperature heat map and having a look-see at the temperature in the leopard's habitat. As you can see, we already have one cooler in there. Let's pop some more down and get as much of the habitat as chilly as we can. Luckily for us, this habitat already has power, but you'll need to make sure of that in the future. Just so you know, if any part of a habitat is powered, then the whole habitat will be powered.
On these simulator games, I really like the heat maps that they've got, where basically you see the heat and whether it's cool or not. And basically, here we're going to make it cold so that it's wintry.
You can find heat maps for all sorts of helpful things, so do be sure to explore them and make good use of them. It'll take a little while for the temperature to adjust once you've added coolers or heaters, but now we've got the coolers in, we can address the leopards' terrain welfare. You see, what the leopards really want in here is snow and rock, so let's make that happen.
Well, what I like about these simulator games as well is that even when the graphics on some of them are turned right the way down, it still looks pretty good and sharp. Although I do have it set to a medium high graphics for this game, obviously, and it still looks good, and it even still performs pretty good as well.
Now then, all of that should give you a pretty good understanding of how to make animals happy. So I'd like you to go and check on all the other animals in the zoo and fix up any issues with their habitats. That'll increase the average welfare of the animals across the whole zoo. And that average welfare is a very important statistic. Now, to quickly see how all your animals are doing in the zoo, you should go into Zoo Management and then into the Animals section. As you can see, this list shows you the animal's overall welfare. So if something's amiss, then you can quickly pop over to them using the Locate button. Right, I'm off for a cuppa while you make sure all the animals are well looked after.
Ah, tortoises or turtles. These are lovely creatures. They definitely have their green vegetable food, don't they? Like most animals, like rabbits and all that, but with these lovely creatures with their houses attached to them, I'm just going to do what I need to do to make them, keep them happy and safe. And then I will further listen to more instructions from the campaign. But I have to say that the visuals of the guests watching and the animals' movement and all the details involved is making this game what more enjoyable, shall I say.
Not bad at all. I think it's fair to say that you've passed the first part of your training with flying colours. There's still lots more to learn, but we'll have to head to another one of Bernie's zoos for that. If you want to grab your passport, we'll head off, shall we?
Right, that concludes the first scenario training gameplay. I managed to reach gold, and this is Planet Zoo. I've had a very good time. Instead of a quick review video, I wanted this to be a long playthrough showing you exactly what I can do. So thank you very much for watching this amazing simulator. I was thinking about doing Planet Coaster next. That's also on PC. And other simulators. It's going to get very exciting with the amount of games I've got to show you. So check back for them and subscribe.